stand up strong. All my girls, so if you're with me, it's right on with me. There ain't nothing like it. The black girl magic, black girl magic.
What's going on, tribe? Happy Black History Month. My name is Nicole.
And I'm Kia, and we are the co-founders of Glamourina.
Glamourina is an inclusive women's lifestyle brand specializing in culturally inspired activewear, intentionally designed to complement all complexions and body types. Our mission is to provide a safe space in health and wellness where every body belongs.
That's right. So welcome to the Behind Glamourina Moms on a Mission podcast, where we discuss how we balance being successful Black women entrepreneurs, working 9-to-5 jobs, motherhood, self-care, and everything in between.
Yes. And before we dive into today's topic, as we have done every episode and we will continue to do, we want to do a mental health check-in, see how we're doing, and we encourage you to do the same thing as you listen. So, Kia, how are you feeling today? New week?
Yes, I feel pretty good. It's, the cold weather is really settling in now. I think we were a little bit spoiled there for a bit. Whereas December, we had some nice days, even in January. So it's freezing. I hate the cold. You talking about mental health check-in. Yeah, I miss some warm weather. So I've been planning a trip in Miami in my head. I don't know when that's going to happen, but no, I'm doing okay. I just, I don't like cold weather. And so that always sucks, but the sun is shining today. So that's what matters.
That's always
How
good.
about you, Nicole?
The sun is a key factor in happiness. Sometimes it just helps you.
It really is. It really is.
I'm good. I'm good. I'm progressing in life. I feel mentally like things are going up, elevating, and not like going down. So I think I'm
good.
One day at a time.
Good. Yes. That's all you can do is one day at a time.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, in today's episode of Behind Glamourina Moms on a Mission, Nicole and I are going to be talking about New York Fashion Week and our experience with New York Fashion Week. We really would like to just kind of dive into the good, the bad, the ugly, all the good stuff that happened, all the things that we wish we could have changed or done differently, and hopefully offer you guys, you listeners, you all as the listeners, some advice or tips or things to watch for if you are brands looking to showcase a New York Fashion Week. So we're going to talk about that today.
That's right. So we'll get deeper into this topic a little bit, but I think as new designers, there's a lot of, and I think this is something we weren't aware of or we didn't really know too much about. There's the shows, New York Fashion Week, the major shows, and then there's, side shows, smaller shows, things like that. So we got reached out to from a few companies to participate in New York Fashion Week last fall. And you don't know what is what, really. So we're going to get into the details of how things panned out for us. But we traveled to New York. We were excited. We even during our Essence Magazine feature, we were talking about how excited we were for New York Fashion Week and to be participating as designers. So we took this trip up to New York, super excited. And then, we just thought this was going to be an amazing opportunity for us. So we definitely want to share the entire experience with you guys on today's podcast.
Yes. I was going to say, I think you might all be able to tell it didn't turn out exactly the way that we wanted to. So let's dive in. Let's go right on into it. So last fall, Nicole and I decided that we wanted to participate in New York Fashion Week. And like she mentioned, and like many of you may or may not know, New York Fashion Week has their huge major brands and invite only shows. So that's the main headline of like New York Fashion Week or Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week is these major shows, Dolce & Gabbana and major brands. However, there are tons of emerging designers and, brands that are growing, but still considered small. Glamourina, for example, we're not like a Nike or a Lululemon or anything like that. However, we're still, making a pretty big mark in the DMV area and across the US. And so brands like ours that are growing really want to also have an opportunity to showcase in major shows like New York Fashion Week. So, as an emerging brand, if you are one, there are lots of different companies that, create these fashion shows in New York or in California or what have you, to coincide with New York Fashion Week. They're on the same dates. They're just maybe in smaller venues. And you have to pay a fee. I'm not sure, how it works with the major brands, but for smaller brands, they do typically ask for you guys to pay a fee. So number one, just know that if you want to get a New York Fashion Week, there is a possibility that you might have to pay as a smaller brand. Deciding on which company to go to is it's important, because I think, Nicole, we had one company, it was several thousands of dollars to participate. I think it was almost like 7, 8, maybe 10. I can't remember. I just remember it being really expensive compared to the company we decided to go with.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, during that time when it's time to prepare to go to Fashion Week and all of these ads start popping up on social media, like be a designer New York Fashion Week, promotions trying to get you to use their company or go with their company. So I think it could range from, I can't even remember how much we paid exactly at this moment, but I think it can go up. I think some of the packages for one company was like 10,000 to 20,000, but you get, from what they say, you get all of these great things. You get all of this production and the experience, and you just can make your show super great from what they say. So just be careful, do your research. And honestly, we did our research. We thought we did. We did what we could in a short period of time. Yeah, I think we did what we could in a short period of time, because there is a time is of the essence when you're trying to lock in your spot. And compete against other designers to see who's going to actually be selected. Right. So, yeah, the price can range.
Because they give you once. Yeah, and you're right. The time, it's definitely a time constraint, because even for the smaller companies, I mean, they want to lock in their designers months before the actual show. So if you are considering it, we went in the fall in September. So if it's, June, they're already, maybe even before that, they're already preparing to have this fashion show. And I'm talking about these companies that offer opportunities for smaller brands like Glamourina. So they're already preparing for their show, and they're already reaching out to some designers, or, just kind of putting the word out, putting out some ads. So it was definitely in the summertime when we were like, okay, maybe we'll do this. But as soon as you talk with them and they're like, look, you got 48 hours to decide. So not to say that, that again, you shouldn't go with that. I think from our experience, looking back, reflecting back, perhaps we could have skipped that one just to give ourselves a little bit more time. But we felt like we were ready. We had the clothes. We were like, New York is not that far from DC, so we didn't have to fly. The company that we worked with, there were some designers there that flew in. So we knew that we could easily get up to New York, fairly well. And I think we just decided to jump on it. But yes, you have to know that you're going to have to spend some money. And also, just try to do as much research about that company as you can. Because one thing that Nicole and I missed is this company had been doing these fashion shows for quite some time, but in California. This was their first time doing it in New York, and we did not really realize that. And I would say personally, I would probably not hook up with a company that has never done the show in the city that we're trying to be in. I don't want to be the guinea pig designer, see how things go.
Right.
Not in this stage of the game. Now, again, if you are really just starting out Glamourina, we've been around for, 6 years. This was our 5th collection. So we are now past testing out stuff. We don't have really the money and the time anymore. But if you're just starting out and here's a show, it's the least expensive, I think, of all the packages that we have been presented with different companies. And I think it was the least expensive because also it was like their first show in New York, their first production. So I think thinking back, I would not go with a company who this is their first time doing it in that city.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I mean, you have to do as much research as possible. And I would say from some of the research I did on this particular company, a lot of the like videos that were out there or people talking about the show was from models, not designers. So I would like to have gotten a designer perspective on like, oh, I participated in this show and this is how it went. And I think this podcast can serve that for the next designer or for the next group of people who want to say, okay, even though we can't say what the company, we wouldn't do, I don't think we would do that.
Yeah, we want to defame them.
Yeah, exactly. But just be careful. This podcast episode is to serve to say, you know, this was our experience and this is kind of what we learned, like lessons learned.
Yes.
But yeah, I wish there was feedback. Okay. Yeah, but I think that you just need to try to get as much perspective from designers who've participated in that show before. I think that's the most important, to get their feedback from their actual experience. And then one thing too, I was going to say, they name dropped a lot. And I think that put us in. So they name dropped, oh, these are the people, the celebrities who've come to our show before. This is the type of press that have covered our shows. And that excited us. That made us think we would get a return on our investment. We would get publicity and potential partnerships with celebrities. So we thought it was worth the investment. But like Kia said, they hadn't done a show in New York. So I think a lot of their connections were on the West Coast.
Yeah. Yeah. And that makes a very huge difference. Again, so just to reiterate, as a designer, if you're wanting to go into New York Fashion Week, research the companies and, like Nicole mentioned, try to see if you can get perspectives on the designers and their experience with that company, not so much models or anyone else. If you're a designer, you want to hear from other designers for sure. So we did, we thought we researched the company enough and we got some good information, and they presented themselves as though they have these connections. There will be media there. They, in a group meeting, a call, they said that, we hired a PR firm, and, the whole point of doing New York Fashion Week is major brand awareness. I mean, this is like an opportunity to show a larger audience your collection, all of your hard work. And so we really thought, that media and stuff would be there. That's one of the most important parts also of
reputable
of traveling
media
to New York.
I'll say that because
yes, that's
media
true.
is one thing
because anybody's a blog.
Yeah. So I think there was actually media there, but it was like, could have been somebody who just said, oh, I'm starting a blog today and only been doing it for a week. Or so the level or the quality of the media didn't match the price or the expectation.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right. Because just thinking back, back in the day when I used to have a blog, and in the blog, I was able to reach out to DC Fashion Week and other like fashion shows and local stuff in the DC area and get a media pass. And it was just me and a couple other ladies as a blog. Like I really was no real media. I didn't have a real camera. This was back in the day when I called myself being a blogger. I didn't have a camera. I didn't have production. I went to one fashion show with a mic that wasn't even really connected. It was just like to take pictures. I mean, for real. So from my experience, like knowing that I don't know if it's like that anymore, but back in the day, you could kind of start a blog, start a website when it was new and fresh and everyone was doing that and call yourself media. And so, yeah, it's not, I don't think it's super hard to get like media credentials. And so that's important too, if you're going to be in a fashion show and you want media to be there, check out and have some comprehensive, like some real names, some real news outlets or magazines, or like who are the people that you guys invited to these shows? Like who's going to be there? Who's coming?
Yeah. And that makes me think too, just thinking about the process. Okay. We've secured our spot by paying this money. We, have had conversations. We look at them as a professional company. But I don't know if we ever asked, okay, who do you have confirmed to attend as far as media? You know what I mean? I feel like that should be something that they
Good
should
question.
be able to present to designers somehow,
It
some
shouldn't
way
be
in
a
advance.
secret.
It shouldn't be a secret, but it should
Yeah.
be some way in advance for them to commit to paying that money, because if we don't know who, at least one or two people, okay, you've said in the past you've had XYZ. Okay, this year, who do you have? At least one person is not locked in. That's a reputable media source. I feel like that's next time I would like to get those details before committing financially to a show.
And I feel like people in that call that I mentioned, so this company had, a Zoom call with several designers to answer questions. And I thought that was great. I felt like they made the call, they shortened it because everyone had so many questions and they were just like, okay, well, we're done. That's enough questions.
Yeah.
But in that call, I do feel like someone tried to ask something about the media. It was never clear. And that's why I say it shouldn't be a secret. There should be no secret about, here are the media that we have confirmed so far. If they aren't able to tell you who's confirmed, that means they don't have anyone confirmed yet. And if it's like 2 weeks before the show, although at that point we already paid the money. So that's the thing. It's, I'm not to say that we were scammed, but it's very easy to get bamboozled.
We were definitely bamboozled.
Yeah, because they ask you for money and to secure your spot. And
they
so
press you for money.
Yeah.
Because the time, like you said, I think it was like 48 hours that you had to commit.
Or they were to give your spot away. And I think, again, we jumped on this because we had, I would say, 3 or 4 potential companies that we were looking at to pursue this. And the company we chose was the least expensive. It just fit in our budget more compared to the other ones. But we were comparing it to these higher end production companies, perhaps, instead of, I guess, maybe comparing a little bit more too about, so if the other companies are charging a lot more, is it because they have a lot more experience, or do they really have, solid media that they know will be there? So you sometimes do get what you pay for, you know what I mean? But anyway, we thought we were doing pretty good. We had the call, we got our questions, for the most part, our questions answered. We packed up, our clothes because we had a unique opportunity that Glamourina, we were able to be in the show, but also we were going to have a pop-up shop. So we were going to be able to sell our apparel. And that was appealing to be able to do that. But we got everything packed up, rented a car, got a hotel, traveled, and all that part was pretty good. By the time we got up to New York, I think the ride was smooth, and we got there. We got a nice hotel that was close to the venue, and that's important, guys, because we don't live in New York, and we just knew we're going to have to pay the extra money to be close. You never know, how far something is away from where you're staying, and how it could take you a long time, traffic, whatever. So anyway, all that, thank God, went smoothly. The day of the show, it's raining, so that kind of sucks, but you can't do anything about the weather. However, we arrived to the venue.
Wait, before that, though.
Okay.
Before we arrived to the venue, things felt very organized, I would say. We got plenty of emails about, what's going to happen the day of, what entrance designers will walk through, what entrance models will come through, a designated assistant to help you get to where you need to go. All of these things were planned and seemed like things would go very smoothly. So I just want to kind of set the tone of what our expectations were.
That's true. It did. Again, it wasn't, at this point, there really were not any major red flags outside of us, again, not really having a clear answer about the media. So that was a red flag. But outside of that, and we didn't pay enough attention to that red flag. But outside of that, from traveling to New York to getting there, the communication with the people was great. They were sending us emails and how to check in and all. So we felt like, okay, everything seemed professional and seemed like it was going to be great. We get there, and the first thing that we noticed is there's a long line of models outside of the venue. Okay. And that's fine. Obviously you're taking some time to check in models. There was no signs, nobody outside to say, designers park or unload here, models here. Right away, it was like, it looks confused. It looked like a bottle of confusion. The models looked confused. We were confused about where we should go. And I think the first thing we did is one of us hopped out to see, like, because we were told that designers would enter separate from the models because we're bringing in our stuff. And that was not the case. Everyone had one entrance. No one knew where to go. We asked them, where does the designers come? We go in the same entrance as the models. And they didn't know. It was like the people that were working there just didn't exactly know what was going on.
Exactly.
And that was really scary at first. They just seemed so confused. The main lady that we had been talking with this whole time that led that Zoom call, that was answering questions. We went up to her like, hey, we're designers and we're here. Where do we go? And do we have a table? And she just looked like, I'm not sure. And we'll get you a table. I don't know when. And you walk inside the venue and tons of models are just sitting around. Like, it was just so disheartening. Like, I think our hearts dropped.
Yeah. I mean, it was,
we pulled up.
I mean, I really wish there were cameras rolling to really capture our experience because, I mean, I think I was the one who first got out the car to find out what was going on and, where do we load, unload and things like that. And yeah, the girl that, like you said, we had been communicating with her. She seemed very professional through all the Zoom calls and stuff. She was pretty much like, all the professionalism kind of went out the door when I met her in person. It was just like, oh, I don't know. Nobody's telling me anything. But you're the face of this because you've been.
Nobody's telling me anything.
Yeah. And then, it was multiple people here, there, everywhere. All of the staff, nobody knew anything. And it was, like you said, it felt like, I don't know. It didn't feel like reality. It felt like, what have we gotten ourselves into?
Yes, you're right. This would have been such an awesome reality show TV moment when, they're planning some event or whatever, and they get there and it's just, I don't want to say ghetto, but it was just so unorganized, and not what we expected. You know what I mean? And for the amount of money that we paid and the time and the effort that it took for us to get there, we definitely expected that at least the coming in and the setting up part and everyone knowing where they should be and where they should go, we expected that would be clear. And unfortunately, it wasn't. So that was definitely kind of like the first disappointment. We hear, again, the long line of models and we have to unload right in front of them and squeeze through them because it was like this small little entrance and they wouldn't move out the way. Then the table and all that. So that part was tough, but we get in there, we finally do get set up. And again, a bunch of models are just sitting there. So I think this particular company, they got a lot of models to participate for the designers. And it makes sense. There were several designers showcasing. I think it was maybe 13 designers. This was a show that was going to be an all day long experience. So they had the designers runway show staggered. I think the show itself was staggered. All the models came almost all at once. And it was unfortunate from a model's perspective or their experience because some of our models got lost in the space. I think so. It was confusing for our designers. It was confusing for the models. They didn't know where to go. Some of them were downstairs. I guess we could talk. Maybe we should jump into our actual part of getting ready for the show. We got there maybe 9. We had to get there pretty early to set up. But our show wasn't until the evening. So it was kind of unfortunate because it was an outdoor part and it was raining. That all sucked, right? But then when it was time for our show, there was probably 3 or 4 models that we could not find and assumed that they didn't show up. And it turns out they were in the basement looking for us.
Yeah, that's the thing. They had these rooms backstage where all of the dressing rooms where you had like designated team back there to help you, or that was supposed to be their job.
Yes, we were supposed to have a dresser, a person to come and actually help us dress the models.
We never had that, but even the staff that was in the back, they weren't directing the models. So many models was like, where am I supposed to be? Like, can I walk in your show? Because they didn't know. It was just no direction. It was very unorganized, and I was very disappointed. I tried to smile and keep a good face on, but it was very like we traveled hours and paid lots of money to be here, and nobody knows where our models are. It's like I don't understand the check-in process. Y'all had the models checking in, but the coordination was just completely off. Poor models, poor designers. I mean, I feel like we all kind of had a bad experience or an unexpected experience. So
yeah, I would love for again, we're not gonna drop the name of the company that we went with, but I would definitely like to hear or wonder what other designers, how they felt about this. Because again, I think it was like 13, 15 designers that participated with this company during New York Fashion Week. And I just wonder how it was for them. I wonder if it would have been better for us not to vend there. But, again, as an emerging brand, Nicole and I always feel like if there's an opportunity to sell your pieces, you need to take the opportunity. I don't want to really go anywhere or travel anywhere and someone's like, where's the fashion? You don't have a fashion show with no fashions. Where are the clothes? Like if I see them on the runway, I want to buy them. So I think we really thought that. And it worked out. Us popping up actually was a great opportunity. So if you guys do find a company and they, make you pay a little extra, but you can sell your stuff at the show, I would definitely do that if you're able to have people with you. We were blessed to be able to have family to help support so that when we were getting ready for the actual fashion show, someone will be at the table for the pop-up part. But that was great. That part was great for us in a sense that at least we were able to sell some of our pieces, lots of our pieces, and then introduce the brand into a new audience that never heard of Glamourina. That part was great. But again, the just completely disorganization and no one had any answers that worked there. When we got in the back, it was worse than being out in the front. It was packed. There were no actual rooms. Some models were changing in the bathroom. It was just like, are you guys serious? This should have been free. This should have just been y'all sign up for a table or, like one entry fee, like a $50, $100 participation fee, because the back, all the models were sitting around, models were sitting on the floor, on the cabinets. There was zero space to change. And thank God, again, we had family. I had a family member that was able to come to the back with us to help us find some of our models that were in the basement and lost. And that was hard because our showtime was about to come on and we were like, all right, we're going to have to replace a couple of these models. And so we started doing that. And then, of course, that's the part of a fashion show. It does get chaotic. We don't want to act like no matter what you participate in, I don't care how organized, stuff could get confusing. But the fact that, there had been a model that had flown in. So I can't imagine having had spent money to fly to this place and this is what I got.
Yeah, I'm sure many of them had to do that and pay their expenses to stay. And this company didn't cover their expenses or pay them. They're doing this for free on their own dime. But yeah, like he has said, we had everything organized. We had all the looks by size, and y'all know our brand is inclusive. So it's not all skinny models. So we need that right body type for each look. So we were missing some models. We had to find replacements on the whim because we needed people to walk in these looks. And then it comes time to about to go out and some of the models reappear and they're emailing us.
Yeah, they show up.
We got to try to re-put them back in and tell other girls, well, we don't need you anymore. And I will give us props for it. We handled that very well. We last minute flip flops and things like that. We handled very well, but it was on us to do it. And I just would say that to designers, like no matter what circumstances you're put in, it's up to you to protect your brand, protect your investment, and just kind of make it work no matter the circumstances.
That is true. I like that you said that. No matter what happens, if you find yourself getting in a situation similar to what we're describing, where you're signing up to be a part of something and it just does not work out, you do still have to keep going. You can't give up. You got to just push through because, it's important. It's important for your brand. So I'm glad we didn't just walk out of there or anything like that. But yeah, you got to push through. I will have to say the actual fashion show was beautiful. I like the setup. I like the runway part. I like the setup, the screens, everything. It just, again, was just so unfortunate that everyone there that was in the audience was the model's friends and family.
Right.
There was no one there that could help, show our brands in terms of media. And that was the red flag that we kind of missed in the beginning, but it blew up in our face at the end, in a sense that a beautiful show. This is great. And then afterward, no interviews. I mean, there weren't even bloggers there. Mm-hmm. Like, again, I joked about, being a blogger, but there was no one that has like a media presence that could interview us, hand us a card, connect us with somebody. Oh, I know someone that has a boutique mm-hmm. or that's doing another show. We would love to feature you. Or, I have a magazine about Black female entrepreneurs. Yeah. Like, I want to interview you guys. We were really hoping for that because we've experienced that doing a lot of different stuff in the DC area, just on a regular small scale, like pop-up. So that part,
not only really were we hoping for that, I'm pretty sure that was supposed to be a part of the package. We were supposed to have backstage interviews, and there was literally, because it was so unorganized, the staff wasn't on the same page. There was nobody like, okay, once you're done with your set, go here, get interviewed. It was none of that. And then I will say too, I remember seeing the woman who runs the company, and she didn't even speak to us. If it were me in my production company, especially, we were, I think, one of the only designers that showed that actually paid for the pop-up part. I would have greeted each person like, thank you for, participating in my event, blah, blah, blah. So none of that. And I would never do this again. I would never do this with this company again. It was very deceiving. Yes. It was very, and even if this was your first time doing it in New York, I think if there was feedback. I'm sure the owner of this company had feedback from models, designers, staff, even. I think what I would have done after everything, like you tried your best, I'm sure. But after the fact, I would have sent an email out to participants and kind of, thanking them, or, at least acknowledging the flaws in the event. And I think we didn't get that. And that was the part that, that would have helped. That would have made me say, you know what, I may consider, like, they acknowledge the downfalls, and I may consider doing this with them in the future. But none of that. Yeah, you're right. There was no feedback. I feel like the follow-up email outside of, here the photos from the fashion show was just like, thank you guys for participating. Our next show is coming up in a few months. If secure your spot again, it just became so, it was just like money hungry. We're not going to talk about, what happened. Because again, you're right. I would have liked, thank you all for participating. Unfortunately, we didn't have the media and the press that we hoped to be there. Offer something. We would like to interview you all, or send us a bio or something, like something that maybe they could have made up for that. I don't know. Maybe at that point they were just like, we're done with you guys unless you're paying us more. Crazy. So that was definitely disappointing. Absolutely. Yeah, it's about being transparent. I feel like that's how you grow relationships. This one, you didn't, we can't move forward because you're not being transparent with us, or just communicating, if you will. That's what we strive to do with our business. If we promise something, if we don't deliver, we're always transparent in saying, like, it's going to be a little bit of delay with your order, or this is what's happening with the new collection and things like that. So I feel like that's important when you're running a company of any type, and then you're taking people's money. It's not free.
Right.
If it was a free show, we wouldn't care as much, but we had to financially pay for this and come out of our pockets. And I just think it's important to be transparent with people who are paying you.
I agree. And I like that you tied that into just being a business owner. It is. You cannot, especially like you said, taking people's money, no matter what you do, no matter if you're cooking, if you have a service, if you are cleaning service, service, if you have a product, like no matter what, if something happens that is not right, you have to validate your customers, and you have to acknowledge your mistake. And then you have to try to find a way to rectify it. You really want to be able to go back to that customer or whoever. And it's just like, we apologize for this, that, and the third. Certainly things have happened with Glamourina, especially during COVID and the shipping times and stuff. And we constantly emailed our customers to let them know, try to keep updates. If an order is ever messed up, like we've offered, a discount or something like that. Like we have always strived to just have great customer service,
right,
and acknowledge where we made a mistake, and then, try to do something better about that, trying to, fix that mistake and not do it again. So
right.
Yeah, it would have been nice for that company to offer us something. I don't want to say a discount for the next show, but just first and foremost, acknowledge that the press wasn't there. Y'all had zero press. And the whole point of coming out and doing the show is not to showcase in front of a bunch of people's friends and family. They're not doing anything for the brand.
Right.
Even as a model's perspective, how is that helping the model? There were no model agencies out there for the models. So it just wasn't for us and our experience. It was not worth it. It wasn't worth the time. It wasn't worth the money that we put in. And it was a learning experience for us. And we for sure won't do this again with this particular company. And I think the next time we are in New York Fashion Week, we will definitely just know that we will work with a company until we get to be in the big shows in the meantime. But we will find a company that has experience doing this kind of thing in New York, if that's where we choose to go, but also that has confirmed media outlets.
Yep.
So very, very important, guys.
Definitely lessons learned, but that's what life is. You live, yes, you grow, you learn. But thank you guys so much for tuning into today's episode of Behind Glamourina, Moms on a Mission. We have a passion for building sisterhood through wellness and creating a safe space where all women feel like they belong.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for listening in. And we hope we were able to give you guys some advice or, just some things to kind of think about if you are considering as a brand to be or participate in New York Fashion Week. So good luck out there. Be sure to visit glamourina.com to shop culturally inspired activewear that reminds you that you are enough. Until next time, stay well. Bye-bye.